Are we recording on your end as well?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
Oh my God! Is this it? Is this happening?
This is it. This is it.
Oh
this is
my
happening.
God!
So excited.
Insane.
This is happening. This
Finally.
is happening. Hi, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Finally, welcome to Log Kya Kahenge, and we are just so goddamn excited to be here.
As am I. Oh my God, yes. Yes. What are we excited about?
Line with us is Shayan Ali.
Hello. All of that beautiful jazziness, wholesome love coming to you across from the pond. Shayan Ali,
Yes.
how's it going?
Across the pond, exactly.
Absolutely. We're trying to do something special here with the audio stuff. So if it sounds like we're in the same room, it means we've succeeded. If it
Yes.
doesn't, then I guess we'll see. Who knows? We'll find out. A lot of new stuff's happening with this episode.
I completely agree, and I think that it's going to sound spectacular, better than ever than any of our other episodes, because we actually have a pro on the line. Hello, that's you.
Hello, how's it going? No,
Shan,
I'm
we
more
are
than happy.
So excited to have you here.
Same.
Like-
I'm ecstatic to be here. Like, this has been so long in the making, and we've had a lot of chats and like calls and catch-ups as well, and which still need to be completed properly, but
I agree.
damn, this has been a long time coming, and like I've been seeing you guys doing the incredible work that you have been doing with Log Kya Kahenge, and I'm so excited to be a part of it now. This is great. Let's get going. Let's get going. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So for our audience's purposes, Shayan is formally joining us as one of our log, which is our people, and he is this spectacular creative that is defying all odds and norms of what a guy from our culture should be doing with his life. It's anything and everything. This guy just got a nose ring. He's sitting right in front of me, and I have a feeling he's the inspiration that like is gonna finally, the final nudge for myself to get one. So I'm just like, so I think we want to give a little bit of a background to everybody that's listening. Shayan is a person who's been in our lives for a while, and when I say a while, from near and afar. So Shayan and I went to high school together in Lahore, in Pakistan, and we've been
LGS, Lahore Go to
classmates.
Supply. Yep.
I haven't heard that in a while.
I forgot that was a thing.
That's a throwback. That's a throwback and a half, isn't it? Yeah.
That is a true throwback. And I'm gonna, chime in, but Shayan, you've, for me, I've been, honestly honored to know you since so far back then.
Damn. Oh, stop it, you. No,
I'm serious. It's true. And you know what it is? Like, I'm so happy that I'm like now meeting you at a point in my life where I'm grown up and mature. And also, now I know the kind of like, how blessed I am with the kind of people in my life, and I can truly appreciate your value. So thank you for picking up that phone call. Thanks for, chatting with me again. When we had, now checked in after, I have no clue, like 12, 13 years,
At
it
least.
sounded like a male version of me was telling me everything that has happened to them.
yeah, for sure.
So,
It was honestly, Kenzo, like, no thanks necessary. Like, the pleasure's all mine. Like, if you hadn't kind of like recognized and like seen or had the drive to like reach out, like this wouldn't have happened in the first place, right? Like, if you hadn't called, I wouldn't have picked up. It's as simple as that. So I think it goes both ways, and it's a really good circle of life kind of situation, because we weren't super close when we were in school. I feel like that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Like, we were in the same class, but we had social circles of friends that kind of overlapped, but like we weren't super close as such. And that's that's fair enough. That happens. But I feel like there was always like an acknowledgement of the other person's existence.
Right.
Mainly because of the amount of mutual friends that we had.
Yeah.
But it's so incredible to kind of like almost a decade, if not more later, come around full circle and like creatives finding each other. And that catch-up call was incredible. That was it was cathartic almost, like, because we were like, oh, do you remember that happened and this happened? And as you said, it was great to like just be like, yeah, there are other people like myself out there as well that completely get the struggles with, being a creative or identity as well. That's a big thing that I'm about. And that I'd probably be talking about as well on the podcast. But we just connected on so many levels, and I'm so glad that this happened. And this just talking, then we got to sort of meet Minahal as well in a later call. Hey, and that was just so great to connect.
I just like when I was really small, small. I knew like all of her friends, like I knew of them, and some of them I knew, some of them I knew of them. But your name definitely used to come up. I didn't think much of it because like I didn't think much of any of her friends really.
Yep,
but,
fair enough.
But your name definitely came up a lot. And then I guess when you guys had that catch-up call, like with everybody, like all of your other friends as well, is when she told me like all about you, specifically just about you from that call. I was like, I want to get to know him. And then we had our call, the two of us, and that was just wonderful. Like we talked about so many things. Insane. What was that, like 2 hours?
Yeah.
It was insane.
It was the buzz.
Yeah.
Buzzing. No, I really, really wish we'd recorded that, but yeah, it's right. It was the first call. We needed to catch up anyways, but I'm feeling that energy today as well. Like just talking to you guys just gives me the energy that I feel like we need. Like as South Asians in general, like the young, new, up-and-coming generation of us South Asians that are hopefully cycle breakers, not afraid to speak out their wants and needs and becoming the change that we need to be. Like I did say I was going to mention this line, but it's just great, like there's a belief that that the people are out there, but it's just a whole separate feeling of joy to when you find these people as well, and especially like seeing the change and the journey that Kinza, you've been through as well. Like Minahal, obviously I didn't know. I knew of your existence, but I hadn't met you obviously in Pakistan.
Right.
But Kinza, like we spent a couple years like being in the same class, and then seeing you from there to now, like that journey, that change, and myself as well. I'm sure you remember, still am a little bit, but fully into my science, maths, and like fully geeky, nerdy kind. I still love my physics, and like I pursue that to like the highest degree I could, and now I'm a creative. So I feel like there's been a massive amount of like very beautiful character arcs, as we call it in the film line.
Love that.
And it's just really, really lovely to be able to like find each other at that point.
I completely agree, and I want to go back to as you were saying a couple of things, right? South Asians, I had no idea actually since the catch-up call that you were actually a person who was born in Britain and then you went to Pakistan and then like I mean the whole overlap. So I do want to take a moment here and pause and just ask you to kind of tell us a little bit about who you are.
Go into my life story, as it were.
Yes.
My what was it, my katha, my ujri dastan, all of that
I
jazz.
have no idea how to translate that. We
I know. Words, but like what?
I would say it, guys, like, his life story.
The life story.
In a more dramatic way.
My odyssey, as it were.
Yes, thank you.
So, I mean, I should probably also say I'll probably be jumping in and out of Urdu quite a lot, so there will be a fair bit of translating, I guess.
We like that. We love that.
Where's Taha when you need him? he's always on it with the translations. I can't wait to have a podcast with him as well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree completely.
So my katha. Katha, by the way, I think it's a Sanskrit word meaning like story.
Nice.
Oh gosh, so yeah, like okay. So here's the thing. I was actually born in Lahore. So Lahori through and through. My parents were British, are British. So I was a couple months old. They came back to the UK. And I basically grew up here till I was 9. So a lot of my primary education was here. We moved a fair bit as well when I was growing up. So fairly used to kind of like just going from place to place. Which was great because it really banded our family together, because it was like schools had to change, friends had to change. So I became pretty used to that early on in my life, but I kind of knew that family is going to be there. My sister and I are quite close in age as well. I'm the eldest sibling, but we spent a lot of time together, spent a lot of time with mum, dad. That really I felt like helped us as a family. And then in 2003, we moved to Pakistan. I can't remember for whatever reasons, but I feel like part of it was majorly because my parents were like, you know, हमारे बच्चे गोरे ना हो जाए. Like, you know, we like they wanted they wanted us to have that sense of exactly. They wanted us to have that appreciation of family, culture, you know, country roots back home, that kind of stuff. So 2003 we moved, and then gosh, that adjustment into like schools was so crazy. Like my parents spent a lot of time making sure that we find the right kind of school for us, because obviously teaching here is very like आराम से प्यार से ख्याल रखना, like very loving and
nurturing and
exactly. Whereas in Pakistan, if you know, it's like you either learn this or this danda will teach you. Like, you know, you either learn it by book or like I'm gonna make you learn it by force, kind of. It's just a whole different beast, the education system there. But yeah, no, I remember kind of like having some teething problems, as it were, adjusting to school life there. And because I'd moved in the middle of the year, I kind of had to repeat a year as well, which just means I'm a year older than everyone else in my academic kind of, which is fun. I mean, had I not moved, which just means that had I not moved at that point of year, I would have been a year above you, Kinza, and we wouldn't have ever like crossed paths as such. So that's what a beautiful amount of serendipity right there. So let's see, what do we want to say? Where do we go from here? I remember, gosh, I know I might have told you the story about Miss Rakshanda. But
please repeat. This never gets old. We have to do this.
I'm sure many people can also relate.
So one of the biggest things that was assured to us kids, so at this point it was myself, my younger sister Sana, and then my brother Basa, we call him Baba though. Which isn't confusing at all when it comes to talking. Well, you know, Baba did this, and I'm like, your dad? Like, no.
It's actually my brother.
Yeah, actually is. Yeah. You call your brother Baba? Like, yeah, dude. Like, I don't have the time to explain this, but so it was the three of us, and one thing that we were all assured was that, you know, we are going to find a school that's going to be nurturing or like strictly no hitting. Because that was a bit like, we knew that that's a thing in Pakistan, like a lot of schools, which by the way I have huge like problems with, that need to be addressed, because that's a big issue in Pakistan, just like violence and like just how far teachers take this thing. Insane. It boils my blood. Regardless. So we were assured that something like this isn't going to happen, and then I'm in class 5 and everything's fine so far. And then one fine day, this otherworldly specimen is the only way I can describe. Otherworldly specimen just walks in, skin as pale as Casper the Ghost.
Completely agree.
Eyes piercing right through your soul. And just mannerisms unlike I've ever seen. Just like you think Cruella de Vil has an air of weirdness and coldness around her. This person, like, I feel like flowers would just shrivel and wither away every time she'd walk past them. Gosh, I'm really painting a bleak picture, aren't I? But this is what I felt like. It's like
this is exactly.
As a 9-year-old, like this is what I would feel like every time she'd walk in.
You sound traumatized.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh my god. Miss Rakshanda, enter Miss Rakshanda. She would teach us mathematics in year 5. Gosh, I mean, if you think popos are scary, or damn, this is something else. Not not that popos are scary. I love popos. I love my popos very much.
Yeah. We love the little disclaimers that we have to put out in podcast all the time. So for our audience, like, that's the sisters of our dads, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, culturally popular as, like, mean. To say the least.
The most amount of like resistance that you're gonna get with any life decision is probably gonna come from football. That's an over-exaggerated stereotype. I must put it out there.
But equating Miss Rakshanda to one, I don't think that's not an
over-exaggeration. No.
At all. No, this is perfect.
Just the thing is, she didn't even have to speak. Just the visuals alone. Like, we're just, and this is like, my having a fresh, innocent little baby coming from the UK, London, and then being so, okay, anyways, mathematics as well. The standard of teaching is just insanely different, right?
Yes.
Compared to, like, at least year 5 here and class 5 in Pakistan. They're teaching you stuff about how to add millions and, like, multiplying stuff and brackets. There's brackets. What the hell's going on with brackets? Why do I have to know about that?
And no calculators?
No calculator, man. What's up with that? That makes no sense. And so the maths was difficult as it is. And then on top of that, you've got this teacher who just seems like she's pissed at you all the time.
Yes.
Just all the time. Just, like, ain't happy with life. And so that's coming out on you. And then on top of that...
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. 100 on how day. And that's the thing. Then it was Mr. Rakshanda with whom I witnessed for the first time, like, a teacher beating up a kid, a student.
Oh.
And, like, I'm talking about something as little as slapping across the head or ruler to the hand, all the way to, like, entire folders and registers to the head, or like proper slaps on, like, it was disgusting. It was so traumatizing. I was like, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And what started to happen was, like, my 9-year-old self of, like, dealing with this kind of stress was I would fake like stomach issues.
Right.
I'd be like, oh yeah, मुझे gas हो रही है, मेरे पेट में दर्द हो रही है, पेट में मैं नहीं आ सकता. So I'd wake up in the morning and then, like, I'd be like, oh, मेरे पेट में बहुत दर्द हो रही है, मैं आज स्कूल नहीं जा सकता. Oh, कुछ नहीं हुआ, चलो जाओ.
Right. Your parents saying that, no, you're fine, go.
Yeah, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Go to school. Don't give us excuses or whatever. I to be fair, I kept that up for a good couple months to the point where they did get convinced, and I did have to go to the doctor, and eventually the real reason kind of came out. But then, thankfully, by then the academic year was finished, and so I repeated year 5. Class 5, but then it was with a different set of teachers. But this one time, like, this IT teacher as well. So this is really interesting. This is weird. And I don't know what place it has, but I'm just gonna say it anyways. But yeah. I think his name was, like, Mr. Rashid or something. I don't remember entirely. Like, he was this tall, mustachioed man with, like, who would wear glasses, like, IT teacher. And this is when IT was compulsory as well. So we were in the computer lab and we were doing something with, I don't know, probably Excel sheets. Let's call it Excel sheets.
Right.
And we had this list of instructions that we had to follow to do, like, a certain assignment or task. Right. And what I noticed was, like, I was sitting on the end of, like, a line of, computers and all that. Yeah, cool. So every now and then, right, he'd be saying something, and we were supposed to be on our computers, like, we were in pairs, and we had to, like, do our work. So he'd be saying something, blah, 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 and after, like, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute, like, he would just hit someone.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
Just hit someone, and like he'd make it out to be as if like they were talking, like, you know, why are you talking? Baat kyun kar rahe ho? Ta.
Oh my god.
And then he was slowly working his way up the line, and I noticed a pattern that, like, you know, he's not just hitting like kids that are talking. He's actually like he's hitting someone, missing like a kid, and then like he's going for every other kid or leaving out two kids. I can't remember the exact pattern, but I remember that I recognized the pattern, and I recognized that it was happening every like a fixed interval. And then I extrapolated from there.
Oh my
and
gosh.
and then guess who's on the line? It's me. Obviously, it's me. I was like, shit. According, like, you know, this is probably like where my early scientific brain started to like kick in. Like, you know, this extrapolation. I was like, okay, so if this model is to be believed, then that means I'm gonna be whacked in about a minute and a half.
Oh man, that's not good.
And so I'm quiet. I'm just doing my work, and I'm doing my work. I'm focusing on this. Someone sitting next to me asks me a question. I was like, oh, like, Shan, like, ye kya cheez hai, kisan ka, like, what is this? How do we do this? And I'm just replying to him, and all of a sudden, whoop, on the back of my head, just a register just lands.
What?
And because I, like, in a way, I suppose I had mentally prepared for this thing to happen.
Yeah.
I knew I'd also kind of like rehearsed the kind of reaction that I was going to give. I knew that I was going to make a whole scene because I wasn't going to take this BS that someone could just come and like whack me on my head. And other kids might be used to it because it's part of the teaching culture, but not me. And he whacked me on the head. I remember just sitting with my head down, just being like, what the hell's just happened? What the hell? Like, just trying to process, like, has this actually happened?
Right.
I've always been a very emotional kid, so like it would take me a millisecond before I start to cry. So like tears are falling down, and everyone, because I'd given like that kind of reaction, I just completely stopped, pushed my chair back, and doing like, nope, this ain't right, this ain't good. Everyone's looking at me and be like, this is very odd behavior. Why is he not continuing to work after being whacked on the head? And then I just walked out the class. Went straight into the principal's office, like madam's office. Thankfully, she wasn't in a meeting or something. I just walked in and I was just like, what kind of school are you running? I was told, reassurances given to my parents that teachers don't hit. This isn't the kind of culture that LGS, I gave her the whole shebang. And like, this isn't even an exaggeration because it genuinely... Like it was so unjust in my head that I was just like, I'm sorry, this ain't right. And for me as a kid, I've always only like cried at situations that have been truly like unjust in my eyes.
Right.
And I've not been able to do anything about it. Like I'm usually quite an introverted, quiet, shy kind of person, despite what might appear so. But it genuinely, like, things that just don't sit right with me, I can't sit quiet. I have to like go. So there's this like, you know, this quiet little kid who's just like into his studies, all of a sudden now just erupting into the principal's office, being like, yeah, like, किस तरह के teacher रखे हैं? What kind of teachers do you have? This is no way to behave. Why is he hitting me? Why is it? If he had a problem with me talking to someone, he should have asked me why I'm talking to someone. It's because I'm answering someone's question. Why is he going ahead and just like bashing my head with a register all of a sudden?
It's so unfair. And like, honestly, that is, if you probably hadn't done that, like for them, that was probably an anomaly. That was, you know, hey, we weren't really expecting that. What happened?
Yeah.
And they're probably told to steer away from, I don't know if somebody steered away from you or not, but you definitely disturbed the waters.
Yeah. And then, you know, Madam, I've never seen Madam like go so pale.
Right.
Like, because usually she's the person in control. She's like, Beta, I'm so sorry. Pani last, I think, can I get you some water? Can I get something? Like, I was like, no, I just want you to talk to that teacher and let him know that if he wants to teach, let him teach properly instead of like beating kids.
And I don't understand. And I think that actually kind of lends itself nicely to the other thing. Like, you know, we are so unfortunate when it comes to the just setting foundational behaviors for kids in a safe way to kind of explore what could be. And, you know, for yourself to go from like such a nurturing environment to an environment which basically, honestly, so for everybody's, you know, who's listening context, like Lahore Grammar School is supposed to be this really like, you know,
really like top tier school. Yeah, for sure.
Private school.
Yeah.
Where like it's basically like a co-ed and like everybody speaks English and everybody's supposed to be like great.
Manners and etiquettes and like strict rules and like
completely.
I completely forgot to mention that it's a private school, so like it's not like you are paying like good money to be there as well.
And so like I've just I feel like this is such an interesting way for us to bridge kind of like over to what you're doing today. I feel like you.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I did kind of get too indulged in my like story.
We definitely want to do that because we definitely want to. This is you're not the only person who has. Oh, you're not the only like guest who has always said that. We've talked to other people who have brought up like cruel punishment and bullying in institutions, and not just by kids to other kids, but like people of
Teachers
authority to kids too as well.
But just to finish off that story, like when lunchtime happened, this was before lunchtime happened, and then one of the staff members, PN uncle, came over and he was like, "Beta, aapko upar computer lab mein bula rahe hain." Teacher's calling you upstairs. All right, went upstairs. Oh my God, I've never seen a man shrivel up so much in my life.
Wow.
Just so apologetic, his body language all closed up, so shriveled up, and he was like, "Beta, aapko madam ko kya batane ki zarurat thi? Like, why did you have to go and tell the madam? I'm so sorry. Like, it's a mistake, genuine mistake. I didn't know. I mistook you for someone else." I was like, "Well, you bashed my head in, didn't you? You didn't think about that before you whacked a register across my head." But he was just very apologetic. He was very apologetic. He had no. I was like, "Look, I don't care about an apology. Just make sure it doesn't happen again. You can be a better teacher than this. Just be a bit more aware. I don't care," because he was giving the excuse that there's so many kids, itne zyada bache hote hain, pata nahi lagta. I was like, "I'm sorry, my head's been hit, right?
Yeah.
So like you can still do better in terms of trying to explain to someone to do work without whacking them across the face." First.
I completely agree. And if somebody is sitting there thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna be whacked in exactly a minute and like 42 seconds,"
how are they gonna focus on work?
How are they ever going to focus on the work before them, or even like think beyond what can be,
For sure.
Essentially the creative mind is completely suppressed. And we're not saying that, the culture hasn't gotten better or didn't get better or something like that, because one thing that I did come across that I would love to like, share with you guys is somebody was kind of like, I had like looked at this post on Facebook a little bit ago actually, and it said that like there's a reason why your parents are so strict, or like parents are
I've seen this one,
right? There's a reason, because like if this is if Rachel was in Pakistan, she would still be working at a coffee space in season 10, like she was in season 1. And I am not, whenever we talk about these kinds of things on this podcast, we kind of like preface it with the fact that yes, we are in a place of privilege where we are
100%.
definitely
100%.
We didn't have power for the last 18 days, and we lost our minds. So.
For sure.
And there are people.
So I recognize the fact that there are people living without what I would call basic necessities. I completely recognize that, and that humbles me. And this year has been very humbling as well, as we've been talking about. That for sure. Like there's in Pakistan, there's like just different circles or spheres of existence. I feel like, and it's very rare at all for those spheres to overlap or even interact. So if you're living in a bubble that's like super elite, then Pakistan's heaven for you. Like you're not gonna have trouble with security issues or like wondering when you're gonna get the next meal from, or electricity going. Like everything is Gucci. But
what you're talking about, Shayan, is like completely, basic. We're talking about going to a school that is supposed to be all of that, is supposed to be part of that bubble, but and essentially like even basically intolerance and stupidity doesn't really get excluded from that elite bubble either. So what you're saying is, what about just like basic human etiquette and behavior and decency? And so like it's so interesting because you're, again, I started this podcast episode and said that you're one of the people defying all sort of like culture norms, right?
I'm gonna fast forward through. So 7 years spent in Pakistan, Lahore grammar, all of that happened. Year 10, class 10, left, came back here to London. So at this point I spent 9 years in London, 7 years in Pakistan, a massive amount of like cultural like
Shocks.
growth,
And
cultural
aftershocks.
shocks, but like also like a lot of like culture became a very important part of me as well. Like literature, like Urdu. I got an A in Urdu literature.
Yeah,
I'm
you.
so happy about that. Like this is someone who like came in year 5 and didn't know how to read a word of Urdu as well.
Wow,
so
man,
I'm
that's
really,
awesome.
really
I
happy
never
about
even did
that. Like Ghalib just spoke to me, man. Like I don't know what to say. And then after that, pursued my like passion for physics, mathematics, theoretical physics. I did. Here it is. I did astrophysics at the University of Cambridge, 3 years, which is the same thing that Brian May from the band Queen did as well. So we share. That's something that we share.
That's awesome.
Apart from the fact that I also play a little bit of guitar.
Oh, nice.
And then after that, yeah, it's just been like an insane, like very typical millennial journey as well, just like jumping from one thing to the next. Like I've delivered for Amazon, the evil corporation Amazon,
Right.
and but I've also started my own clothing brand as well. I was one of the first directors for a Pakistani student organization where we were trying to like basically make a platform. For student societies, like Pakistani societies across the country to just communicate with each other.
Amazing.
And so through that, I was basically one of the first people to introduce the idea of open mic nights in the Pakistani circle. Open mic nights have existed like way before me, but
Right.
it wasn't very common in Pakistani student circles, especially in London. It'd be Qawwali nights, shisha nights, like gup shop, games night and all that. Open mic night started. So like had it not been for the 7 years in Pakistan, I wouldn't have had that passion and drive to be involved in the Pakistani community like this.
How nice.
And do this kind of work. And then film started. Okay, so here's my spiel with film. My dada, my dad's dad, he's been an entrepreneur all his life, but towards the end of his life, I never got to meet him. He passed away before I was born. But towards the end of his life, he was a producer and financer of a number of Pakistani films. So I like to feel like there's some sort of lineage, but there's no nepotism advantages, I must say.
But that's amazing. Wow.
It's
I did not
insane.
know that
No,
about
it's
you.
really, really cool. It's really cool. And I've always had this affinity towards film. I've always just there's been a romanticism with the word filmmaking for me since a young age, but it just never was a career path as such because and I want to give the benefit of the doubt to like parents and families, because if your family is in the show business, film industry side of things, then of course they would know what the ropes are, how it works, and they can introduce you and then they can guide you as well. But I feel like in a place like Pakistan, where if your family doesn't know how to guide you in a certain career path, they're obviously going to want the best for you, right? So if they see that you're going into what seems like an uncertain career path, they're gonna be a bit cautious. So I like to think that my parents were cautious, but they've always been very, very supportive.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they've been very patient with me trying to find my way, find my footing, and I'm really, really appreciative of that. But I do feel like that's where it comes from. But having said that, of course, I've had the classic, "Beta, why don't you get a proper job?" Whatever a proper job is.
Who has it?
Who has it, right? I'm sure so many people can relate to this.
What is this podcast?
Yeah, what's a
What
podcast?
is what podcast?
Does it make money?
You mean radio show?
You mean radio show?
Love radio.
Oh,
Yeah.
same. And you said from your DJ days, part of radio, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like I just did a ton of stuff in Cambridge, including a bunch of like athletic stuff as well, like rowing, badminton. I was at one point the
Boxing?
vice.
right?
Yeah, kickboxing as well. I was at one point the vice president of the Cambridge University Kickboxing Society. So training at like a
That's
really
awesome.
elite level. I was also involved in the Pakistani Society. Again, for a brief period, I was the vice president then, but like worked a lot with the publicity, very involved. A lot of dancing. Dancing was big at university for me. Like that's, again, it was like film for me. Like I've always known that I've had an affinity with it, but I've never really felt comfortable just dancing on a dance floor because I later realized I didn't have the vocabulary to dance. And choreographed dancing is very different to freestyle dancing. Choreographed dancing is literally you building your vocabulary. And someone guiding you and helping you to how to perform. And my first kind of performance was for a competition, a national level competition, and it was like this Ghana style dance, which is, comes from like a South Indian like folk dancer. So if you've ever seen like a South Indian film, your Dhanush kind of like just explosive, like jumping, and like there's a big scene in America as well, I'm pretty sure. Like that's the first thing I did. Super energetic, and I found that my background in martial arts, like because I'd done karate, boxing, kickboxing as well at that point, that came in really handy. They loved my expressions. Just that boost just gave me a lot of positivity, and it was very. I felt very expressive as well. It was a new avenue for me to express myself, and it just opened a new dimension of a personality that I didn't know existed.
And this is all happening after you've officially flown over to the UK again, right?
Yeah. So this is whilst I'm in the UK. I'm at I've done my O levels, A levels. A levels I did here, and then I'm at university now. So this is start of the second year of university.
How cool.
When dance becomes a part of my life, and it's just completely changed me for the better.
Talk to us
it's been
about all
beautiful.
these amazing like big names that you've. I mean, there was a mention of Men in Black. Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Talk to us about that.
So, my first job in the film industry, I'll re-up. I did this course with this organization called the National Youth Film Academy. I love them to bits. They've been massively supportive of my film career. Did a course with them, and in 10 days you need to make a film. You're put in a group. So I met a lot of people that I'm now working with as well, frequent collaborators. Off the back of that, they obviously keep an eye out on people that they feel like have the right kind of attitude that they want to support and give sort of jobs to. A month and a bit later, I get like a message or a call being like, Shayan, like there's a film job. Make sure you're available for this date. Like we really feel like you're going to be the right person for this thing. I'm like, all right, what is it? Can't give you details. Just make sure you're available for this day, this time. All right, cool, fine. I had a barbecue that day with a friend, obviously pre-lockdown. This is back in 2018, the good old days. And I know, what was that like? And I had to run from that barbecue because I was like, okay, cool. Turn up, it's this St. Paul's Cathedral, this massive, beautiful cathedral in the heart of London. That the road in front of it, that cathedral itself, all blocked out. I come in, get part of the crew, find out it's the set of Men in Black International.
OMG.
Yeah. So my first job in the film industry was working on Men in Black International. I haven't seen the film, but I hear mixed reviews. But nonetheless,
So art typical. I did that, but I haven't really seen it.
Yeah.
no, it's,
Everybody ever.
it was such a every artist ever.
Every
Yeah,
artist
sure.
ever.
I did this thing. I don't really see it.
But
No, I don't.
but I hate looking at it.
But that's amazing. That is so cool.
That was insane. That was
It's
really,
actually
really
a
insane.
badge of like honor. You know how like people know that I know that guy.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And then Jack Ryan, I worked on season 2. They were filming in Leicester Square. Met John Krasinski there. That was a lot of fun.
Oh my god!
Really towering. I don't think I've told you this at all.
We would have freaked
Insane.
out just like this.
No, brilliant guy.
I have like girly goosebumps right now.
Girly
I'm like,
goosebumps. So did I. I also had girly
Yeah.
goosebumps. They were real.
I have such a crush on John. It's not even
What's
funny.
there not to like?
That switch up, a man can only dream of the kind of glow up that this man has had.
Yes.
Yes.
Insane.
It's true.
And then worked on The Gentleman, which is a Guy Ritchie film, starring Matthew McConaughey. And yes, I did indeed meet Matthew McConaughey. It was a small, intimate.
Dream right here.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Why are you talking to us?
I don't know what you mean. What you mean?
People who've met Matthew should not be talking to us.
Oh no, not at all. One day Matthew's gonna be sitting here and talking to you guys. I'll tell you this right now.
Yeah, this is exactly why you're here. You make us feel so good about ourselves.
Is he as gorgeous in real life?
Oh, for sure. Like not as tall, I'd say, but very intense. Like this guy is passionate about his craft and like he's in the zone.
my God.
Mark Strong as well was on the again. I've not seen The Gentleman yet. I really want to watch it. I'm waiting for it to come out on Prime. But it was a really intimate set. So like it was basically everyone was kind of saying hello to everyone. It wasn't a super huge big one. Yeah. So and I was on door duty as well. So like everyone had to go through me to get on set too. So
are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Shayan, how do you see this, because this has been on our minds for a while. You know, everything has literally shifted in the last 8 months. But we've been, definitely keeping an intense eye on, what's happening on the, in the film industry. Like we see Netflix, we see Disney, we see all these blockbuster films that were supposed to be in theaters but were not.
And are stopped for God knows how long, really.
They've been postponed for a while.
Any chatter in your world about how this is evolving for you? Yeah,
so I mean, the film industry was probably one of the hardest hit because of COVID, because it's very difficult, turns out, on a set. If you want to film a scene where actors need to be close to each other, actors need to be close to each other. That's it. You can't escape it. And also there's a lot of contact. When you, as a film crew on set, you're running about, you're talking to, communication is key. You can't run a set without strong communication. There's a lot of, obviously, equipment picking up, putting down, walkie-talkies, all of that. So it of course it got affected massively. And also it was uncertain as well as to what do we do right now? So stuff was just put on hold. A lot of productions have moved quite a fair bit, but a couple months back, I think there was a whole document that was reviewed and released, which basically was a guideline in terms of how production should function to make themselves COVID friendly. And now companies and productions have started following those. So productions are resuming, and a lot of stuff that was meant to be coming out this year has been delayed, but work is happening. It's picking back up slowly, but people are now getting used to this new way of working on set, which is going to take a while, but it's good. I feel like it's at least the train's moving slowly but surely.
Exactly. Thanks for that. We've been literally wondering.
Yeah.
But since this is an intro, all about Shayan episode, we're definitely curious to hear, some other spaces in life that you are interested in, that you talk about, that you are passionate about. And remember on the call that we talked about, sincerity, humanity, genuinity, and also mental health. So talk to us a little bit about where you are in terms of meshing. We were talking also a lot about meshing our experiences from Pakistan over to the UK or the US. Cultural shifts. You had mentioned your evolving relationship with your dad and everything like that. Just
gosh,
really
my God, there's so much. We're gonna have to unpack this.
I know, right? I'm so good at hitting you with all the mountains.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Just keep that up. Keep on reminding me and pull me back on track if I go on a tangent.
No, not at all. But that's exactly why. The reason I do this with everybody in the starting episode is because you all know what's to come. So.
Yeah. Here's the agenda, guys. I love it. Okay, where do we... Oh, there's so much beautiful stuff to talk about, so little time. That's why we have multiple episodes, I guess. So I'll talk about my dad. Very, because it's something that I can talk about really quickly as well. So through no fault of his own, Dad's just, for a large chunk growing up, has been away for work, or he would be doing the night duty. He has always been like, his energy and power to hustle has been a major source of inspiration for me, like growing up, for sure. Because he's 18, his dad passes away, he needs to be his own man. He leaves the country, he goes Saudi, he goes Japan, he goes America, Canada, like he works his ass off. Even in Japan, like he would work double shift and then overtime. He'd come back home, and as it is, workers that have come in working in factories, the places that they'd get to live, the accommodation would be overpacked, so bodies upon bodies. So what he'd do, he would sleep in the bathtub. The bathtub was his bed for like a good couple years whilst he was in Japan. So like I respect his hustle so much. But it has meant that, obviously this was before he was married, but even after he was married, the way he had to work and stuff meant that he couldn't spend the amount of time with his family that you would have otherwise preferred. And that's because of circumstance. It's not something that I hold against him. But still, like, now that I watch old home videos as well, like it's and we're babies, and like, with two, like my second birthday and stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
Just the way that like he would like hold us, look after us, we wouldn't be with mom, we'd be with like dad, or just like sitting on his lap watching TV. Like there's no doubt that this guy like loves his kids so damn much. It has just been a situation of circumstance where like he, because of work, just hasn't had to spend the most amount of time. So obviously, as a result of that means that communication, because I've just spent more time with mom, naturally, the communication with mom, the lines are a lot stronger than they have been with dad. But what's been really beautiful in this past couple years growing up is like I've managed to spend a lot of time with dad, like especially, well, obviously not because of COVID, but pre-COVID, going to the gym. That was a big thing for us, because growing up, he's been a wrestler, like Belvan, like a wrestler. He's like a black belt in karate as well. He's won national level championships, and so he's been an athlete all his life. And like, bless him, he's in his 50s now, but he's still working, he's still fit, he's still like out there hustling, and that's insane. So we would go to the gym together. He would be my personal trainer, essentially, like the best personal trainer I could ever get for free. Like on top of that, for free, exactly.
Right.
That was a really wholesome way for us to like start like communications and talking. And recently, I've got family in Ireland, right, which is about an hour's flight.
Wow.
So it's so close. My sister, my mom, and my youngest brother, like they were like, oh, we're bored anyways, there's nothing that we can do, and there weren't any travel restrictions. This is post lockdown. Let's go to Ireland. And I was like, well, I have work, so I have to stay here. And dad was also like, I have work, I've just come out of lockdown, I need to make some money.
Right.
So it was just me and dad for like 2 or so weeks before we decided to join them in Ireland. But before going out to Ireland, there was like a couple of weeks where it was just such a beautiful dynamic, where for some strange reason, well, not strange reason, I don't know exactly why it happened, because lockdown changed everyone.
Right.
Our lines of communication just opened up, and as if it's like just two people mutually respecting each other. Like, I would come home, or he would come home, and then we'd ask each other how our day's been, or he would cook for me, I would cook for him. I didn't do the dishes, I must confess. Like, so he did all the dishes whilst it was just the two of us. But it would, like, we just every day, like, we'd sit down and we'd talk and tell each other how our day was, if it was good, if it was bad, debrief, and just it was just so wholesome. And just having that relationship with dad it's such energy, it's such a beautiful relationship to have, and I'm so glad that it's happening at this point in life. I feel like it's just giving me that kind of momentum that I can now ask him about, you know, what was it like when he was my age, and like the uncertainties of life and existential crisis just hit you on the face, and how did you deal with that stuff?
And it's so refreshing to be on the other side and kind of like, you know, listen to an example coming from our culture where we see all the time where like, unfortunately, the culture of like toxic masculinity from like younger guys in our generation just kind of like, you know, still being on their mom's heels all the time and really not like, you know, paying that much attention to dad. I mean, when you had talked to me about your dad, it just was so refreshing to hear that, you know, sort of like
that, you know, that's kind of relationship I have.
Because you don't really hear much about like a guy being that close with their dad.
At least we haven't. Really. At least we haven't. I completely don't want to generalize.
Like no, for
really.
sure.
I mean, for us, as we've always shared with you as well, like, you know, with us, it's been our dad, literally. You know?
Sure.
But that's amazing.
For me, it's been my mom. But like it's in like recent couple of years, I'm just so pleased. I feel so blessed and humbled and lucky that, you know, I have these lines of communications now with both of my parents. Not everyone has that. My parents didn't have. My parents are now older than their parents ever were. So that's a crazy, like, I had this chat with them as well. It's like, what does it feel? It must feel so surreal, so strange. You have now lived longer than your parents ever did. Because these guys, you know, they became orphans quite early on in their life. They were like 12, 13 or whatever. Insane. Dad was 18, so which is why he had to then go out. But then mom was like 13 when her mom passed away. But insane. But so I completely take that on board, and I know that I'm super privileged and lucky and so blessed, and I don't take it lightly, which is why I take every opportunity I can to like salvage these moments to have conversations with these guys. But
that's amazing. No, thank you for sharing that. And I know that, you know, we've actually talked to other people on our podcast where, you know, they have conversations. Like, I think that we had that beautiful group in our last episode, and they were talking about how they would want to, you know, probably do an episode exploring our relationships with our grandparents one day. So, you know, I really appreciate it. You won't believe it, but we're actually topping the hour, but I do want to... Yeah, can you believe that?
Insane.
Wow, that was
I feel like
really
I haven't
quick.
even begun talking. This is just like a pre-warm-up to the conversations. I don't know what the hell I've been saying all this time.
No, everything that you just said like has laid out like a beautiful foundation for our future, you know, chats.
For sure.
So many. Yeah. I do want to like sort of like, you know, ask you like an ending question. When you you know, heard the term, or what does the term "log kya kahenge" mean to you? What is that something that you know has appeared in your life here or there? Kind of. Is that
oh my God! Come on, you can't be
rhetorical question. I feel at this point,
feel like,
but like
it comes with. Damn! No! Oh my God! So I feel like it comes with the melanin package, right? Like if you got a bit of brown, then you best gonna be frowning. I think that was so crap. That was so bad.
That's going on a post and you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I prefer that.
Post and you know it.
I prefer Hassan Minaj's version, where it's like, once you go brown, you gotta lock that shit down. But yeah, no, of course, log kya kahenge. That comes up so many times, especially when I was living in Pakistan as well. There has been that sense. And what I love, like when I first came across the early days of Log Kya Kahenge, and I saw the Insta post, and I saw that you were doing this work, and I was so excited to be a part of it soon. The first thing that comes to my head is this beautiful classic Bollywood song, Kuch to log kahenge, logon ka kaam hai kehna.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, of course, people will say something. It's people's job to say something. You know, sung in the beautiful vocals of Kishore Kumar as well, which is just a perfect reply to, you know, the question, "Ke log kya kahenge?" Like, of course, people will say something. It's their job to say something. Let them do their job, and I'll do mine.
Right.
that's the kind of philosophy I've had with this sort of thing. And if anything, it's very interesting to navigate this landscape as well. कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, वो देखते हैं. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I love that you're actually bringing it full circle back to something that you started with. You said that, we've got to be the guys or we've got to be the girls or whatever.
Yeah. You've got to be the generation that is the change that we want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like we are. Like, we're doing that. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
It starts with conversations like these. It starts with, it genuinely does start with talking. Or it starts within yourself. If something's not feeling right, you got to ask yourself, why isn't it feeling right? What is this external influence, or is this something that I've been conditioned to like behave in a certain way? What's wrong here? And once you open yourself to thinking about these things and being open to being convinced otherwise, that's when you break the cycle. And once you're also open to having conversations, potentially difficult conversations that challenge everything that you've believed in all your life, that's when change happens. Yeah. So I genuinely believe, and this is something that I'm super passionate about, that I try to do in my filmmaking as well. I'm actually working on a film right now that I've received a grant award for. It's going to be we'll be talking about that as well. And the theme is Array of Hope, and I'm doing it with this incredible visual artist called Kajal Patel. And our sort of idea is that, so many South Asian artists have their artistic careers dismissed because it's not a proper job, or like what kind of career are you going to make in the arts, kind of the usual stuff that I'm sure people have heard to forever. But we are now at an age where it's our generation that defines the terms and conditions of how we want to live our life, how the narrative's going to be, how the rules are going to work, essentially.
Yeah.
We are the log now. We are the log, and we're saying that do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Do it. Let it happen.
Right. And we're not going to judge you for it. And there is not going to be,
not at all.
Yeah.
Wear a nose ring if you want to.
Yes.
Go be a dancer, be an artist, be a filmmaker, do whatever makes you happy. Just put a positive contribution to the world, and you will find inner happiness. And no amount of paychecks can substitute for that.
I think, honestly, I know we have talked about this a lot in like some of our earlier episodes, but having a fellow creative on that kind of an episode where we are not only, discussing the barriers to entry to creative fields for our people, I feel like we should maybe also make it a part to like, some tips and tricks up your sleeve to kind of like jumpstart it or kickstart it. I think that would be fabulous.
I would love that. Like it's something that I'm working on the side is just like starting to build a network of South Asian filmmakers and actors, because this is something that I've struggled with as well. Like I want to work with more South Asian actors and filmmakers. It's just difficult to find them, and not only that, I want to use it as a way to encourage young or aspiring filmmakers and actors to be like, cool, if your family doesn't know how it works in the industry or a career path, I would love for you to have a conversation with someone who does, and hopefully then that gives you a pathway, a mind map to then implement on. And so you're not feeling as lost as your family probably is.
Right.
That's something I'm like so passionate about. That's work that I want to do in the UK. There's a lot of work that I want to do in Pakistan as well, which is definitely for another episode. But
I think you bring up a really good point about I think a lot of groundwork needs to be done in a country like Pakistan, where even the concept of somebody, what you're talking about is a mentor or somebody who's been there. And I have a feeling like the people that I've talked to in Pakistan, they don't even grasp the concept of a mentor because everybody, like that crazy Facebook post said, it's just making the basics work right now.
For sure.
definitely a lot of work to be done, but thank you so much, so much, so much for being one of the people to initiate beautiful things like that and do it.
I'm only a small vessel in this big, beautiful machine that hopefully all of us will come together and just bring about such a beautiful change. Because honestly, like Ginza Minaha, like I'm sure you know this, there are so many rich and beautiful stories to come from our region, from our history. Like the world is just not gonna have enough of us. To, like just bringing out just this beautiful amount of creativity and beautifulness that's just going to erupt, and it has to come from us, because it has to come from us, not like us three, but like our generation.
Definitely. Us.
We'll be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, for sure.
You just said exactly what I was about to, but I feel like that is a beautiful note to sort of wrap up this conversation. For now.
Damn. Gosh, I'm so humbled if people have actually stuck around and actually listened to my ramblings. I genuinely have no recollection of what kind of stuff I talked about. I just started speaking.
All good stuff, and that's exactly why, like, we keep it kind of loose as well in terms of like, I know you might have like noticed that I was trying to steer, but like not really steer because I feel like
it's good.
Much like what I've personally learned from this round of therapy this year that was really needed. Whatever will be on front of mind is exactly what you needed to talk about. So
exactly,
you know.
So I guess this is documenting our therapy sessions with each other in a sense. But no, it genuinely does feel like therapy in a way that like these are conversations I don't really feel like I can have with a lot of people.
Right.
And I'm so glad and pleased and humble. I know I keep on using the word again and again, but I genuinely am that this platform exists and you guys are doing the beautiful work that you are to make this happen. So keep on at it, girls, and we'll hopefully be on another episode soon. I'm looking forward to see what people think of this.
Very soon, and welcome to the family. Now that like full credits before this thing is going out, like Shayan is taking over audio production, and so like all the beautiful stuff that you're going to hear is going to be
hopefully
coming from his hands,
coming from across the pond. Crazy stuff.
But we thank you so much for your time and your beautiful energy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The love and respect is only mutual.
Thank you.
All right.
We are excited to end on this beautiful note. Thank you so much for listening. We are back, and we are back with a vengeance.
And for good.
Until, like, natural things happen, and then we just can't do anything about it. But, Shayan, as you might already know, but, like, we we genuinely do a collective, ending with everybody.
I've heard the podcast. Yes, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Good. Yay, we love that.
We love that. Thank you. Shayan, seriously, nothing but so much love for you, honestly. So we'll do it together. Guys, thank you so much
for listening.
And
have a wonderful week.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All that. And always remember. Always remember. Don't worry about. Look, kya kahenge. Oh, we did it. That was great. Damn. Amazing.